Welcome back to Crunch Labs. I'm Mark Rober, and today we're going to be talking about the coin spinner and all the juicy physics and engineering secrets that go along with it. As you all know, I love to take something humans do and then build a robot to just do it way better. Sort of like this. Fun fact, for that build, I was able to take it on Jimmy Kimmel, and of course when he steps up, it recognizes his dart and makes him really bad. Hit the board.
Just try to hit the board.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
And then when I step up, it recognized my dart and gave me a little bit of an assist. Now in that case, in order to give myself superhuman powers, it took 6 stepper motors and motion controllers and a Vicom motion capture system with 6 cameras, but it doesn't have to be that complicated. Right here in this box is a build you will be putting together that will also give you superhuman powers. Because it turns out most kids and even a lot of adults either can't spin a coin or aren't very good at it. So this little machine will do it better than any human, which will not only win you some bets, but each box comes with 2 of them so you can play some cool games with it as well. Alright, so the deal with Crunch Labs is not only do you get a really fun toy to put together every month, but we're going to talk about the juicy science behind how it actually works using all the junk you see lying on the table in front of me. I want to help foster in you a love of science and just a wonder of the amazing world around us because it's such a lovely lens from which to experience life. One of the main goals of Crunch Labs, it says right here on the box, is to get you to think like an engineer. Now you might be like, but Mark, I don't want to be an engineer. I want to be a veterinarian or a photographer. And to that I say, amazing. That's fantastic, but thinking like an engineer will make you a better veterinarian and photographer because you know how to think critically and break problems down into manageable steps. Heck, forget your future career. Thinking like an engineer even now makes you a better soccer player or piano practicer because you're resilient and you know failure is part of the process to eventually succeeding and getting the best results. And I can say that from first-hand experience because that's the exact process for putting a freaking rover on Mars. All right, so to help with this, for every discussion, for every build box, we're gonna start with the question. And the idea is you won't know the answer to that question right out of the gate, but after about 10 minutes of me using all the junk you see lying on the table in front of me, you're totally gonna know the answer to that question. So let's see today's question. It says, how do you turn wood into rubber? Now you might be thinking, what? Wood into rubber? That seems impossible. Don't worry about it, we'll get there. But before we do, I want to start with another question, which is I've got a wheel here. It spins this way and that way, like a good wheel should. But let's say I wanted to modify this design so the wheels spin one way, but it couldn't spin the other way. What might you do to this wheel to make like a one-way spinning wheel? There's actually a very common way this is done in engineering, and it's used all over the place. Let's see if maybe there's a clue here on the table that might help us. This is interesting. So if I'm trying to figure this out, like a good engineer, I'm going to make some observations. I see that there's like some axles here, and that usually means something rotates. Yep, sure enough, it rotates around this point. Okay. Oh yeah, look, I can spin the wheel this way, and then I can spin it back. Spin it. I can't spin it back. These little grooves right along, and then it wedges in there and doesn't allow me to spin it back. That's pretty cool. In engineering, we call what you see right here a ratchet. And you might be like, well, big whoop. But try and think of some examples where having a wheel that spins one way, but not the other, might be really useful. While you think, I'm gonna pull some out, because I've got a couple of examples here. The first one, this right here is called a ratchet strap. So a lot of times when you're moving something in the back of your truck, you put your junk in there, you put this strap over, then you want to get it to really tight so your refrigerator doesn't go flying out on the freeway. You put this over the top, and then what you do is you ratchet it down. You can actually see the teeth, just like our ratchet right here. As you tighten it, they ride right along this thing, right? And so you get tighter and tighter and tighter. You want that to be a one-way wheel because you want it to cinch real tight, but not come back the other way. All right, here's another example. This is a socket wrench, but it's a specific type of socket wrench. We call it a ratchet wrench. And that's because it spins this way, but not the other way, right? I used to always do that as a kid. I love doing that. Why is this useful? Well, if I want to tighten a bolt, it can't slip. Kind of like this. But instead of me having to lift up off the bolt, come over here, go back on the bolt head, and come back down, if you're in ratchet mode, you can just do this. It tightens the bolt, but then you just get to slide back and keep tightening it without having to take it off every time. So it's just like this. You go back, tighten the bolt. After you've tightened it around, you go back and tighten the bolt. Another technical example of a ratchet you might see is a turnstile. You see these at like an amusement park or like a ball game. It's kind of a people ratchet where you can like exit the park, but it doesn't allow someone to come back in because it's only one way. Another example you might have seen are these things. They're called zip ties. So these are really great. We use them all over the place. You see it's got these grooves here. Then as I put it through the head here and then kind of tighten it, this little wedge piece rides along those grooves. It allows it to slide this way, but when I try going the other way, it digs in. Allows me to make it tighter, but then it digs in. These are super useful. It's a really quick way to get something tight, and of course it doesn't loosen after that. So those are all great examples where having a wheel or a slider that can go one way, but not the other is incredibly useful. And let me give you one more. Of course, it's on this month's build box. It's for the coin spinner. Now that you know all about ratchets, can you spot the ratchet on here and why it would be useful to have one? Well, we needed a way to store the energy in this rubber band so that at any moment's notice, we could fire and hit the coin. So we just knew that in this case, using the engineering principle of ratchet would be the perfect option. And sure enough, you can see we cock it back like that. And so now if we load the coin in and then we hit the trigger arm, works perfectly. So this month's gear badge, as you might have guessed, is going to be ratchet. So make sure you take that and you add it to your diploma of all your gear badges, and you're well on your way to thinking like an engineer. All right, so technically we've talked about the engineering principle, but there's just a couple more juicy nuggets with this coin spinner that you're going to have to humor me. I'm going to talk about them. My name's on the box, so I got to make the rules. Deal with it. Remember before we had our Frisbee launcher and our engineering principle was the flywheel. And as part of that discussion, we had these two guys. They weigh the same, but this one has all its mass around the edge. We rolled them down the ramp, and one of them took longer to get to the bottom of the ramp and then subsequently rolled farther along the floor. Well, if you recall, it was this one. But do you remember why? Well, let's do a quick review because there's a really cool principle that applies here to the coin spinner as well. Okay, well, you remember in that video, we had these guys, and they weigh the same, and I know that, number one, because they both use the same dowel, they both have two apples, and then when I do this, it's equally easy to move them back and forth. It's the same mass. But then when I rotate, something interesting happens. That's pretty easy to rotate. I can move it around pretty easy. But this one is a lot harder to spin quickly. If you remember, that told us that when you spin things, the location of the mass matters. By putting it at the end, I basically have to move a heavier mass a farther distance, so it takes more energy. In the same way, moving a weight this far, that's pretty easy. Moving a weight all the way like that takes more energy. It's the same thing here. That apple travels a farther path. Now, the benefit there is that it can become a mechanical battery. That's what a flywheel is. You can imagine if I spin both of these up, this one's going to spin for a lot longer because it has just more energy stored there. It's harder to get going, but once it's going, it's harder to stop. And that's why this one rolled farther on the floor once it got to the bottom of the ramp. It's like its own flywheel, basically. So here's the question. If I were to spin these like this around this axis, which one would spin for longer? What do you think? Well, if you guessed this one, you're absolutely right. Because all the apples are stored around the edge, not only for this direction, but spinning around this axis as well, it will spin for a lot longer. If you don't believe me, and if you want to win a free hamburger, next time you're sitting there with your friends waiting for your food to arrive, take a ring like this and take a quarter and see who can spin it for longer. Make sure you grab the ring. Because if you spin it like this and then take a quarter, what you'll find is that the ring spins for much, much longer. It's still going. And that's how you get a free lunch. You're welcome. All right, well that's cool, but there's one final juicy nugget packed in here, and this will actually help us answer our original question. Have you ever noticed that if you have a flashlight or like a sparkler and you move it real quickly and it's kind of dark outside, it kind of leaves a trail behind? Well, that's a phenomenon called persistence of vision, and it's really, really interesting. So you'll notice in the box, we included these stickers, and then if you put them on both sides of the coin, it looks like this. On one side, you've got a circle that looks like this, and then on the other side, it's got a ring that kind of looks like this. Truthfully, not that interesting. But when we load it into our coin spinner and set it up and give it a whirl, something really cool happens. Suddenly, you've got Saturn. So what's happening there? Well, if you see an image like this, just a circle, it takes 1/10 of a second for your brain to really process that and hold on and understand what it's looking at. And if I slowly turn it over to this side, that's plenty of time for your brain to be like, okay, now I'm looking at a ring. But if you do that really quickly, while your brain is taking that 1/10 of a second to figure out what the circle is, and then you show it the ring, it's still hanging on to that, and it sees them at the same time. I've kind of illustrated it here. This is the 1/10 of a second it takes your brain to see the circle, here's the ring, and here's the circle again. But if you spin it really quickly and condense those times, you can see there's these moments of overlap where it sees both of them at the same time. That's persistence of vision. That's the same principle behind what makes a flip book work. Each of these pages individually, if I turn these slowly, not that interesting. It doesn't look cool because your brain is like, yeah, I got it. But when you do it quickly and you take advantage of that 1/10 of a second overlap, you get this. This principle is true not only with flip books, but movies. With the video you're watching right now, you're watching this at 24 frames per second. That means my hand is actually jittering across the screen 24 times in a second. It's a flip book, but because of persistence of vision, we kind of trick our brain, we take advantage of that 1/10 of a second overlap, and it looks totally smooth. And this same principle, persistence of vision, is how we turn wood into rubber. This was a trick I loved doing when I was your guys' age. I've got this wooden pencil here. If I grab it like this, you kind of hold it loosely toward this edge, and then kind of move your whole arm up and down. You get this really cool effect. This works because of persistence of vision. Your brain sort of sees it here, but it also sees it down here. It blends the two, and it just looks super wobbly. And if your friends don't believe you, you just drop it, you blow their minds. If you don't have a pencil on hand, it also works for even the pen that we send out in the kit. Takes a little bit of practice, but you get it looking pretty wobbly. There you go. Direct hit. All right, so now we're going to cover how to actually put this together. And the idea is I can just kind of fly through it right now, and you kind of watch it, and then later on you can use the instruction booklet to kind of put it together yourself. Or alternatively, you could sort of watch the video while you put it together yourself, and then just pause it as you go, because we'll put the corresponding step numbers up on the screen. But either way, just remember, I'm going to fly through this in like 4 minutes. When you do it yourself, it should take anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour if you're actually doing it in real life. This build box actually comes with 2 coin spinners so you can play with a friend. So that means there's doubles of all the parts. But for this video, we're just going to focus on building one all the way through, because obviously you just do the same thing once more. So we're actually going to attach the coolest mechanical part first, and it's the part that flicks or spins the coin. So step 1, you attach the ratchet to the spinner base with the blue rivet. You'll know the rivet is all the way in when you hear a click. Make sure the etched arrow is facing up. Then you find the trigger bar and place it on the spinner base. Make sure the hole in the trigger bar lines up with the hole in the spinner base. You have a yellow one and a blue one, so you can just pick either one, it doesn't matter. And now you can see how the trigger bar interacts with the ratchet teeth. Next, secure the trigger bar into place with another blue rivet. Then step 4, slide the thumb ramp into the slot on the trigger bar. Next, flip the spinner base over and stretch a clear O-ring over the bottom of the thumb ramp, and that will lock it into place. Now you'll install the elastic cord. So you bring the metal aglets through these two tiny holes and then position them into a T to keep it from sliding out backwards. Then pull a rubber band through the hole in the ratchet and loop both ends of the rubber band over this nub above it on the spinner base. Now you've got your working ratchet mechanism. All right, as an engineer, you want to test often, so this is a good time to test. As you pull the red ratchet back, the trigger bar should gradually slide over the side of the ratchet teeth and then tuck under. This makes that clicking sound. This trigger bar here prevents the ratchet from flying forwards by the rubber band. To release the ratchet, just push forward on the thumb ramp, and now without the trigger bar in the way, the rubber band can pull the ratchet arm forward really fast. All right, now let's build the part that holds the coin in place. Next, grab one of these support pieces in blue or yellow and the silicone sticker sheet. Then peel and stick it to the corresponding circle on the support piece. Now install the two support walls. Make sure the hole is on the same side as the etching. Then use a clear O-ring to secure them to the bottom. Next, take the big rubber band and put it over the coin holder. Secure the coin holder between the support walls with a bolt and wing nut. Screwing the bolt all the way tight will lock the coin holder's position. If you loosen the bolt a little, that allows you to adjust it. Grab the L-shaped blue foam piece and peel and stick it to the outline of the wood piece. Now take the sticker backer off the top of the foam and line it up just right with the spinner base. This part can be tricky, so try setting the sticky part on the table and holding the spinner base with two hands. The inside edge of the blue foam should match the inside edge of the spinner base perfectly. Then pull the ratchet back to the farthest back dotted line. This is full power. Next, place one of your coins under the coin holder on the dotted line. Just like when you try and flick a coin, you want the coin to be held in place very lightly. If you press too hard, it won't go anywhere. So try and get the rubber band as straight as possible while still holding the coin upright. And obviously you can adjust that by adjusting the angle of the arm. All right, so it's built, so now you can test it out. Set the edge of the coin spinner on a flat surface and push the thumb ramp forward, and there you go. You've now unlocked an engineering superpower. Congratulations. And now that you know all the steps, you can use the remaining parts to build your second coin spinner. All right, so if you remember from before, each project comes with an engineering hustle. This is your chance to do what I do in my videos, like when I took my dartboard on Jimmy Kimmel, and unbeknownst to him, I dominated because I've got mad engineering skills. So for the engineering hustle here, I think it's pretty obvious. You're gonna challenge your sibling or your friend or your parents to a coin spinning contest. Maybe you put a 20-minute bedtime extension on the line. Of course, you can watch some extra Mark Rober videos. Then when they agree, you let them go first, but importantly, you hide your machine. So then when it's your turn, you bust it out and dominate and enjoy those sweet extra minutes watching some banger YouTube videos. All right, so in addition to just sheer domination when it comes to coin spinning, there's a couple of games that come in the build box as well. The first is coin bowling. So you use these coin stands, kind of clip them into place, set them up in a triangle, so they're kind of like bowling pins. And now you can use your coin spinner at full power, try to knock them over and see if you can get a strike. And the next one is awesome. It's a two-player game. It's sort of like Beyblades. You use the arena, you put your spinner up to the corners. Importantly, you want to put your spinner at half power, otherwise you'll launch it right out of the arena. And then when you're ready, on the count of 3, you hit go. And the last coin spinning wins the battle. And finally, this is just the beginning. You will hear me say this literally every time we get together, but engineering is an iterative process. That means you keep building and tweaking and trying to improve. The biggest mistake I see people make is they try and make their first version like their final version, and it's really frustrating when they don't nail it right away. As an example, in order to get to this, it required all of this for us. So you could see, we first started with a version where coins could be loaded in here, and it would load them down. Then we kind of pivoted to this system that would drop a coin and then sort of hold it in place. Eventually, we switched to like a revolver system where the coins would be loaded in this little piece of foam. Then you can see we started pivoting more towards a system where you kind of cock it back. If you include all the different arenas we did, we're talking literally probably 30 different prototypes before we landed on the final version here. And that's just the way it is. That's the way it always is. Every video I make on my channel is a product of multiple prototypes and tests and learning through the process of making different things so you can finally land on the version that's like the best possible output. None of these would I consider a failure, by the way. You just learned one more way not to make the final version. Why does this matter? Well, now it's your turn. This is like the first prototype for you, so now it's time for the prototype 2.0. What can you build with just junk you got lying around your house based on the principles we learned here? So if you recall, we talked about ratchets. Is there something you can use there? We talked about spinning objects. Go around your house and try and find some different things to load into here and predict which will spin longer than others. You can record the data and see if it matched your predictions. You could try spinning from different heights. I think you might find it's pretty stable as it comes out, and you can launch from on a table all the way down to the floor. We talked about persistence of vision. So in the kit, not only do we give the ones like Saturn and its rings, but there's some blank ones there, so you could make your own. So maybe you could cryptically write your name, so you can't really read it until it starts spinning, and then you see it all come together. Or maybe make one side of the coin red and one side of the coin blue, and then when it spins real fast, see what comes out. There's also a really fun game we used to play as kids where you spin the coin and you capture it between your thumbs, and then you try and flick it into like a little goal that your buddy makes. Then you take turns and switch and see who could score more points. Point is, we got another month before the next box arrives, so you need to take these materials and the principles we learned and just make some really cool stuff. Then you could tag us on our socials at Crunch Labs and show me what you came up with. So that's it. Now you've earned your Ratchet Gear badge, so you can go put your little robot machine together and give yourself some superhuman powers. And I'll catch you next month, right here at the Crunch Labs. Oh, and if you're watching this and you somehow haven't yet ordered your Build Box subscription from Crunch Labs, then what the heck are you waiting for? Visit crunchlabs.com with a parent, and then you can learn more about how it all works. It's super fun, and I'll teach you even just a little bit to think like an engineer. Thanks for watching.